In the United States at this moment, one trend that we've noticed as Marxists and revolutionaries who study the class forces and the developments in class society is an increased amount of police repression. In New York City and other cities throughout the United States, there's a policy known as stop and frisk. And it's that at any point, a police officer has the right to pat down and search someone for weapons. And that's a violation in the U.S. Constitution. It says that you're protected. You know, an officer cannot search you unless there is a probable cause and it has to be approved by a judge, a warrant has to be issued. Except that's kind of been thrown out, and there have been court rulings basically making it routine. And throughout New York City and other cities throughout the United States, police officers frequently pat people down and search them for weapons without any probable cause. And the target is mainly youth, and African American and Latino youth are the primary targets. And all throughout neighborhoods, people are just walking down the streets, and the cops order them to put their hands on the wall, and they search them for weapons. They pat them down. There was an instance in New York City, a young man named Marley Graham. He had a joint of marijuana in his pocket, and when they ordered him to be searched, he didn't stop, and he ran away from them. So the cops followed him for blocks. They got in their car, they followed him, and then when he went into his apartment, he went upstairs into the apartment where he lived with his grandmother. The police followed him upstairs to the apartment, and they broke down the door, they went in, they shot 2 bullets through his heart, simply because he ran away from them. And their excuse was they said, oh, we thought he had a gun. This was a young man named Marley Graham. And the police officers have been absolved of any wrongdoing. In fact, at the last court hearing where they were investigating this, the court was packed full of officers who came out to support this other officer who had murdered the young Marley Graham. And there are frequently demonstrations at the house in the Bronx. But it's all across U.S. society. About 4 years ago, in Cleveland, I currently work in New York City, but I was doing political work in Cleveland at that time, and there was a walkout at a high school called Collinwood High School in Cleveland. And the walkout was against the teacher layoffs. The number of teachers at the high school were going to be laid off as part of the cutbacks, as part of the global trend of austerity. And we heard there was leaflets and everything. There was going to be a walkout at the high school on that day. So me and several other people who were part of the FIST youth group and the Workers' World Party went down to that demonstration. And only 5 students actually got out of the school because the police chained the doors of the school shut, which is a violation of the fire code. That's an extreme danger. And so there were students pressing on the doors trying to get out. And it was like the students were locked into the school. And 5 students got out. And almost as soon as they got out of the school, a police car pulled up. 5 officers came out, and they grabbed 2 young women and threw them to the ground and beat them very severely. And you can watch video of it because I was there and I recorded what the police officers did. And they beat these women senselessly. It was really horrendous, just for walking out of school. And but I recorded it, and the police then tried to charge the women with assault on a police officer. But if you watch the video, you can see that they were doing nothing wrong. They were simply walking out of school, the police grabbed them, and the next thing you know, they're on the ground gasping for air with the cops threatening to tase them. It was a very frustrating thing, and we organized, and eventually they were acquitted, and they didn't face jail time for assault, which is common. If a police officer assaults you, then they charge you with assault on them. It's very routine, and that was in Collinwood in Cleveland. There are cases like this going on, and I think one common theme is there is a political aspect to all of this. There's an organization in the United States, another socialist organization called the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, and they had all of their homes raided by the FBI. The FBI went into their homes in Minneapolis and Chicago and other parts of the country and took boxes and boxes of their personal belongings, their laptops, their cell phones, all kinds of things, and were trying to investigate them, claiming that they had evidence that they were linked to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the FARC, and other revolutionary groups around the world that are fighting for national liberation. And they were going to charge them with aiding terrorism somehow, which is an outrageous allegation because they're a very small organization in the United States, and these are huge organizations around the world that have huge base of mass support and leading struggles for national liberation. And so there was a whole effort to stop the attack, the FBI raids against Freedom Road Socialist Organization. So all across society in the United States, there's been a trend of police state repression. Right now in New York City, there's a case of a group of students at City University of New York, or CUNY, who have been demonstrating because at their college there's a professor who is General David Petraeus, former General of the U.S. Army, former head of the CIA, and now he's teaching students. He's teaching some small class at City University. There's a group of students who've been protesting David Petraeus and disrupting his classes, and and just holding demonstrations. And they were violently beaten up by the police and arrested. And then, following their violent beating up and arrest, there were 2 more students who were kicked out of the school and then also charged with criminal behavior. So, and it was revealed now through the investigations that the campus police, not just the New York City police, but the campus police, had an entire room in their police station devoted to this group of students called the Revolutionary Student Coordinating Committee, with all of their posters, biographies of all of them. All of their phones had been tapped, and every time they would have a meeting, they would dispatch someone into the building in which they would have a meeting and listen to the whole thing and record everything. They followed these people. They sent infiltrators into their group. They did all kinds of things to harass this group of students who were simply protesting against a professor who was a known war criminal and a murderer. And they faced some very serious charges. You can read about the CUNY 6 or the City University of New York 6 on the web, the criminal charges they're facing. And I think as Marxists, Leninists, and revolutionaries, we see this crackdown that's going on right now as something that's very linked to the economic crisis. The capitalists of the world know that wages are going down. There's a capitalist crisis. Poverty is increasing. And when there is economic suffering and oppression, there's going to be resistance. And they're bracing for that resistance because they know it's coming. They saw what happened with Occupy Wall Street, where all of a sudden thousands and thousands of people who'd never been political before, never been thinking about politics, were going out and calling out the Wall Street bankers and the ruling class as their enemies. They saw, saw what happened after Trayvon Martin was brutally murdered by the racist George Zimmerman, and how the streets filled up with thousands and thousands of people. They know that the revolt is coming, and so they're strengthening the police state apparatus to prevent the revolt they know is coming. But they will ultimately fail because there are millions and millions and millions of workers, and the ruling class is very, very small. They may own the banks, the factories, and the industries, but they don't have the real power, because the real power lies with the workers and the oppressed. And so, as revolutionaries, we stand in solidarity with all who are suffering as a result, and all who are under attack, whether that's around the world or within the United States. Some sections of the movement may try to say that, certain groups, they're adventurist, or they brought it on themselves by acting in this way. We don't engage in that kind of rhetoric. We say if the police state goes after activists and organizers or oppressed people, it is our duty as revolutionaries and progressives to stand with them and build for their defense, no matter what their ideology, no matter what their beliefs, no matter what the circumstances. The main enemy of humanity is the capitalist ruling class, and that their main tool to oppress the people is their state which serves the bankers and bosses. It's not a democracy. But that's our view, and it's an honor to be meeting with the folks from the Revolutionary Communist Group. And they sound like they're doing amazing work, and we hope to stand in solidarity